Today we're taking a virtual trip to the Garden County of Ireland to visit one of the best gardens in the world. Hi, thanks so much for joining me again here on the Traveling in Ireland podcast. I am so excited to take you into County Wicklow today. We're going to virtually visit the third best garden in the world. And I've probably stolen a little bit of my guest thunder saying that, but I'm so excited to bring you this conversation. But before I do, I just want to give you a quick reminder. If you visit a place that you have heard about on the podcast, be sure to let them know. This helps me to get more amazing guests for the show and to share just so much more terrific Ireland attractions and tips. So don't forget to be a name dropper when you visit and just say, I heard about you on the Traveling in Ireland podcast. So as I alluded to, we're venturing into County Wicklow today, and County Wicklow has the nickname of the Garden of Ireland. So today, my guest is Vivienne Nyhan, and she is the sales manager at the Powerscourt Estate in Wicklow. So Vivienne, I am so excited to talk to you today. We recently met for the first time in Chicago, but it wasn't my first exposure to the Powerscourt Estate. Here's the way I like to use it, and this may be wrong, but after that overnight flight to Ireland, I want a really great bed and someplace that I can relax. So the Powerscourt Estate has kind of been that first tranquil escape for me when I arrive in Ireland. And you've got everything there. You've got the hotel, you've got the gardens, you've got a new distillery. And it's one of those places that you can spend a day or two and not run out of things to do. So I'm so excited to have you dig into that with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Jodie, for inviting me onto the podcast. I'm delighted to be here and tell you all about what we have here on the estate in Powerscourt, in County Wicklow, which is also known as the Garden of Ireland.
Oh, such a beautiful area. So why don't we start maybe at the beginning and talk a little bit about where Powerscourt Estate is and the history of it.
Sure. Powerscourt Estate actually dates back to the 13th century. Many powerful families had held the estate throughout this time period. And it wasn't until 1603 that the castle and the lands were granted to a gentleman called Sir Richard Wingfield. And as a result of his military success, he was awarded the title of Viscount Powerscourt by Queen Elizabeth I. So his descendants were here at Powerscourt for over 350 years. And back in 1961, a couple called Gwen and Rafe Slazenger bought the Powerscourt Estate from the Powerscourt family. And the Slazenger family are the custodians of the estate today. So it is a wonderful history that is spanning all those areas. And you can see it in certain areas within the gardens when you come out, which I can get into when we talk about the gardens. But as you had mentioned, we were awarded the third best gardens in the world by National Geographic. And I have to say we're in very good company because Versailles was number 1 and Kew Gardens in London is number 2 and we're number 3. And within the estate, as you had mentioned there are so many different things that we have on the estate. We have the Palladian-style mansion. We have the 47 acres of landscape gardens. We have 2 championship parkland golf courses. We have Ireland's tallest waterfall. We have the 5-star Powerscourt Hotel, which you love to stay in, and they're very comfortable beds. And this is part of the Autograph collection by Marriott. We've also got the distillery that you had mentioned, and it's there that we distill a whiskey called Fercullen, and that is the Gaelic word for Powerscourt. And we're located in a little village called Enniskerry in County Wicklow, but our proximity to the city and to the airport is excellent. We're only 30 minutes from Dublin city centre and only 45 minutes from Dublin airport. And we're south of Dublin and south of the airport.
Which makes you a super easy spot to drive to, because I always tell people if you're starting your vacation, you don't want to drive too far after especially if you're coming from North America, right? You don't want to drive too far, but you want to be in a place that you can be active so that jet lag doesn't just absolutely, shatter you. And Powerscourt is a great place to do that because you can get there relatively quickly. You have the amazing gardens to wander through. You have at the estate, you have Avoca, which is the perfect place to get a good breakfast in the morning or a great
Yeah.
picnic lunch. I mean, you literally have, I mean, there's even a garden center there. And while I have a rather brown thumb, and most of the plants that y'all grow in Ireland, I can't grow at home as hard as I try. I love wandering through that garden center because it's just so beautiful and inspiring. So, all that to say that Powerscourt is a great first stop. Also a great last stop, in all honesty.
It is true. Again, as we were saying, the proximity to the airport or to the city, like if you're coming in from a transatlantic flight, we know the time difference can play havoc with your sleeping arrangements. So it's very nice to relax when you first get here. You don't want to get into the car and drive, 2 or 3 hours to your destination. So, and yet you feel that you are in the heart of the country, but yet so close to the city and all the amenities. But because there are so many different things to do within the estate as well, as you said, you can spend a day or two here getting acclimatized and just ready to start your Irish adventure, or you can do the reverse and you can finish on a high before you head back home.
And I've done that too. I like a great hotel at the very end too. I like a great hotel. Anyway,
Yes.
we will go back to the topic at hand because you mentioned the gardens, I mentioned the gardens, and I think that's a great place to start when talking about the Powerscourt Estate because you are first and foremost known for the spectacular gardens. So let's talk a little bit about what people can expect because these are no ordinary gardens.
That is so true. There are so many diverse areas within the gardens when you come to Powerscourt. When you come through the house into the gardens, the first thing you see are our stunning Italian gardens, which has the magnificent backdrop of the Sugarloaf Mountain. The gardens were actually designed in 1840, and it took 100 workmen 12 years to complete the gardens. So you have the beautiful flower beds, you have the gorgeous topiary trees, and then you have the magnificent steps all the way down to the Triton Lake. Through the gardens, we've also got a very large area we called our wall gardens. And the wall gardens were where they used to grow all the fruits and vegetables that used to feed not only the house, but also all the estate workers as well. And here we find the largest double-sided herbaceous border is there. And as you can continue through the wall gardens, you come to our wonderful woodland walks, where we have a very large selection of trees from all over the world. We've got the giant sequoias from California. We have the monkey puzzle trees from Chile. We have wonderful trees from Asia. And because of our temperate climate, the trees absolutely flourish here as well. They're doing very, very well. And within our woodland walk now, we've just included a new place that we call our immersive path. And it is a walkway through the rhododendron plants. And
love and hate relationship with those rhododendron, right? So beautiful.
Exactly. If you can contain it, ours are contained. And when you're walking through the rhododendron path, because you're surrounded by trees and everything, it's so peaceful and quiet in there. And you can hear all the birds, you can hear the woodpeckers, and you can hear the finches and all that. And it is just so peaceful and quiet. You've got a lovely viewing platform that you can look out onto in the height of the rhododendron season. The colors and the flowers are just spectacular. You'd mentioned also as well our Japanese gardens. People are very surprised to find that we have Japanese gardens here. And at the moment, with the summertime, the colors that are there are just spectacular. You've got the 13th century grotto. You've got lovely little babbling brooks there as well. It's lovely and peaceful. So as you're coming from the woodlands, you go down into like a valley where the gardens are. And then you continue up through the Japanese gardens and you come to an area that we call our Tower Valley. And in the Tower Valley, we have our Pepperpot Tower. Now, the Pepperpot Tower was built by the 8th Lord Powerscourt in 1900 for his children. It goes up actually over 100 feet high. Now, most people had a tree house as kids. They had a tower.
Can you imagine?
And the fun. And when you go to the top of the tower, it's beautiful views that overlook the gardens. And then you can see right across the valley and beyond. It is wonderful. And at the base of the tower there are cannons that date back to the Spanish Armada. And some of them actually have the lettering of the ship that they were on as well. So there are so many diverse areas. We've got walks for people who don't mind doing hills or climbing steps. We've also got walks for people that are not as comfortable doing that want to do a more leisurely walk as well. And if you're coming with your children, we have posts that are signposts around the place for children. They can do the children's treasure walk as well. They can find out different areas and different things to find out there as well. So we cater for all ages and all abilities within the gardens.
And I've taken a few tours there. I've taken family tours there, and I've taken, tours of adults of all ages. And it doesn't matter what age people are, they are just wowed by the grounds and the beauty. Kids like the tower, especially the Japanese garden,
Yes.
fascinating with the grotto. So it really is just a lovely place for just about anyone to visit. And then you've got, in addition, a bit away, but in addition to Estate, like you said, the highest waterfall in Ireland. And if I'm remembering correctly, it's a perfect place for a picnic. There's, it's, as long as hasn't been too rainy, it's a very safe place for a bit of wading. And then just the waterfall falling is absolutely magnificent.
Regardless of the time of year, it is a wonderful place to visit. And if you're staying at the hotel, they can pack you a picnic basket that you can take to the waterfall. And it's lovely to have the waterfall as the backdrop with just the sound of the water coming down. And as you said, it's a very safe area there within the park. Also, as well, the park has been used because of its location, because of its just stunning views. It's a very iconic place for films. There's an awful lot of films that have been filmed at, not only on the estate, but also at the waterfall. And the first film was actually filmed in the 1920s, a Hollywood movie. And we just continue to grow in popularity with the stunning location at the waterfall and also in the gardens. So over the years, we've had over 50 movies and TV series that have been filmed here on the estate. And I suppose some of the more famous ones would be like Excalibur, that was all filmed around the waterfall. We've had the TV show Vikings. It's been filmed there. The Tudors, Enchanted, Disenchanted, to name just a few. And we've just finished wrapping on 2 different Netflix series that have been also filmed on the estate as well.
It's absolutely beautiful.
And as you'd mentioned there as well, after you've enjoyed the gardens and after you've enjoyed the waterfall, we have Avoca Cafe that you can sit and indulge in one of the most delicious cakes. They have a huge selection of cakes and wonderful big mugs of teas and coffees. Or you can do a little bit of retail therapy in any of our shops that are within the house there as well. We've Avoca have got the food hall there. They have their clothes shops. We've also got Neptune, which is a home furnishing shop. And we've also got the Design Loft. And they specialize in working with local designers and craft makers. And they sell their wares there in the shop. So there's always something a little bit different to find.
It's a great place to find those local artisans. And I know that that's something that people really look for when they're in Ireland. They want, the local craftsmanship, something that is, very locally handmade, has that essence of Ireland. So that makes it a great place to maybe do a little souvenir shopping or gift shopping.
Well, sometimes people do a little bit more than a little. Sometimes there's lots of bags coming out.
Yes. Well, you can't complain about that at all. As we mentioned, there's now a distillery on the estate, and this is relatively new. It's 2 or 3 years that it's been open to the public now, and it's actually one of my favorite distillery tours because instead of just finishing with a whiskey tasting, which you can do, you can also finish with a food pairing with your whiskey tasting. And that takes the flavors of the whiskey to a whole different level. It's like a whole different experience to first taste the whiskey on its own and then taste it with this bit of food. And they pair them together to really enhance the flavors of both. And the foods are local. And I think that it made for not only a great whiskey experience, but a really memorable experience. So let's talk about the distillery just a little bit.
Sure. Well, you are correct. Yes, the distillery opened actually towards the end of 2019. So
Perfect timing.
just as soon as they'd opened, then they were closing down again. But the wonderful thing about the distillery is it's only 200 meters from the house. So it is very accessible if you're doing a garden tour and then you want to go to the distillery afterwards, or you can do vice versa. But it is actually located in the former grain house of the estate. So they've built the distillery around the grain house there. And like that, there's different tours, as you had mentioned, Jodie, that you can do in the distillery. So there is the regular tour where you go and you learn all about the whiskey making, and then you can taste 3 whiskies. But the one that you were talking about is the food pairing, which is very, very distinctive and is quite unique. Not many places at all offer it. And so when you're doing the tour, you go into a room and you're shown a video of how it all started in the process. Then you go into the distillation room and you learn about the different processes of making of the whiskey. And we're very lucky here on site that we have our own maturation room, which is quite unusual for a distillery. So you go into the maturation room and the first thing you smell is something that's known as the angel's breath. And it's the release of the fumes coming from the casks. So there's this wonderful aroma that gets your senses going. So when you come back into the distillery itself, you go to a wonderfully room that is very Art Deco type room, and you can start on the food pairing. Now, as you had mentioned, the food is all locally sourced and has been specifically selected to complement the notes of the 4 specific whiskies that you will be tasting. So the pairing also includes, interestingly enough, our own honey from our bees the hives are in the apple orchard, which is right next to the distillery. So it has quite a lovely flavor to it as well. And the whiskies that you get to taste with the food pairing. So it's the Fair Cullens Falls whiskey, which was the first whiskey they distilled. The new one that they have is called the Gates, which is part of the Estate series. There's a single malt and there's also a 15-year-old single grain whiskey. So each of the different locally produced food items, whether it's cheese or whether it's some cured bacon or ham or whether it's some other type of food process, they have specifically selected it so it will enhance the flavors, not only of the food, but also of the whiskey as well. So you get the full flavors, you get the full aromas. And it's wonderful when you're there because they can talk you through it. And they're saying, these are the tastes that you're tasting now, or the sense. And it's so amazing. It's like, oh gosh, that is so true. Yes, you can get like the maple leaf flavor coming through on certain things. So it is a wonderful experience.
I know that right after our whiskey tasting with the food pairing, we actually had lunch there as well. And there was a whiskey ice cream. Is that still there?
Yes, it is. It is. And it's so, so popular. If you just do the regular food pair or the whiskey tour without doing the food pairing, you also get a little bit of the whiskey ice cream, which is actually, it's everybody talks about. And it's something that's totally unique. And it is just a wonderful finish to a great day at the distillery then as well. They always say, dessert is always the best part because if it's a good one, you always remember it best.
So let's wrap up with talking about the estate with a little chat about the hotel, because the Powerscourt Hotel has not always been the Powerscourt Hotel. In fact, it was a Ritz-Carlton for quite a while.
That's correct.
And now it's the Powerscourt Hotel, which, as you mentioned, is part of the Autograph Collection, kind of with that umbrella of Marriott. But it's got beautiful views. It's in this beautiful, lush parkland. And you feel very removed from basically any cares that you have, right? It's just such a tranquil place. So let's chat a little bit about what maybe the history of the hotel, because I think that's probably pretty fascinating, but also the amenities and what people can expect from a stay.
Well, the hotel, as you said, it did start off as a Ritz-Carlton, and through the recession, towards the end of the recession there, it had changed owners and it had changed names, rebranded to the Powerscourt Hotel and Resort and Spa, and they now fall under the Marriott brand there. But it's so beautiful because as you enter the estate, you come through these magnificent gates and you're driving up the avenue, and then you see a sign. It's quite discreet, and it's very discreet. You don't know if the hotel is there, and it's off to the left of the avenue as you come up. So you drive down into this lovely this windy driveway, and then you have this magnificent Palladian style hotel in front of you. And it really does offer unrivaled 5-star experience from the moment that you enter the grounds of the hotel. They have 198 exquisite bedrooms, and the vast majority of the bedrooms enjoy a clear view looking over the valley and also over to the Sugarloaf. And it makes it so special when you arrive in the room and you realize I am in the middle of the country, but yes, I'm so close to the city. In the hotel now, they have 3 choices of dining options. You can dine in the Sugarloaf Lounge, which they are so well known for their afternoon
The
tea, a
afternoon tea
lovely
there is
indulgence
fabulous.
in the afternoon. Yes, it's a lovely indulgence, and it's just, you're there with a white tablecloth and the beautiful setting and the lovely dainty sandwiches and the cakes. And oh, I'm hungry
And like
already.
a dozen tea selections. I was trying
Yeah.
all these different beautiful teas. The Irish cream tea I'd never had before.
Yep.
So, talk about indulgent. That one is so good.
We have to book ourselves in for that when you come over again. Then they've also got the fine dining Seeker restaurant, which again has the magnificent views overlooking the valley there. And they've just recently opened a wonderful casual dining place called the Sally Gap Bar and Brasserie. So it's beautiful setting. When you walk in, you've got the bars there, and then off to the side is the restaurant. They serve superb steaks and seafood there. There's lots of leisure activities that you can do on the estate. They have complimentary bicycles at the hotel that you can take and cycle all around the estate. You're very safe. There's not loads of traffic around. There's not driving cars on the roads or everything. And it's a lovely leisurely way to enjoy the full estate. You've also got, when you stay at the hotel, access to an area called the River Walk that is not open to the public. So it's a lovely private area for you to go down there. They've also got their 20-meter Swarovski crystal lit swimming pool and a fully equipped gym. Also, after all your wonderful indulgence of your afternoon tea and your gardens and maybe a few holes of golf as well, you can enjoy their wonderful spa. And the product they use is S-Spa, which is one of my favorite products. And you can be indulged in all the beautiful exclusive face and body treatments, and it just activates all the senses there as well. So it is a wonderful, relaxing, pampering stay.
It really is. And the welcome of the Irish obviously is well known. I mean, world over, the Céad Míle Fáilte. But when you step into some place like the Powerscourt, it takes it to a whole new level. And granted, it's not a budget stay, but it is a worthy splurge. If you have the ability to say, I'm going to stay one amazing spot, this is a spot worth considering.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as we said, it ticks so many boxes because you have it all in one area. You don't have to get into a car to break the momentum of the stay and drive somewhere to find golf or to find gardens or to find shopping or to find, beautiful, tranquil walks.
That said, there are some amazing places not far from you, and I'm almost positive we're going to touch on those at the very end.
We are indeed.
Because
we
it's
are
also
indeed.
a great place for touring the county. But before
Yes.
we get to that, let's talk a little bit more about visiting the Powerscourt Estate. Is there a best time to visit?
We're actually open year round. We only close for Christmas Day. The gardens are beautiful throughout the seasons. We've got our wonderful Tulip Festival in the springtime. In the summertime, the gardens are in full bloom right towards into the autumnal colors, the beautiful autumnal flowers, and then the trees, not quite like Vermont or New England, but we're getting there with our changing climate. So the beautiful colors, the trees then as well. And in the winter months then it's all the evergreens. So people would have their preferences to come, but there is always something to see within the gardens and on the estate, whatever time of year that you're coming.
So if you want to visit the gardens, do people need to pre-book a visit to the gardens themselves, or is that something that they can just show up to on any day on a whim?
We're very, very lucky here because we're not restricted with the amount of numbers that people come in. So you don't need to pre-book for the gardens. From March through to the end of October, we open from 9:30 a.m. through to 5:30 p.m. And then in November to February, we're open from 9:30 to 5 p.m. So you don't need to pre-book. You can come at your leisure. Some people do like to pre-book because they like to have an itinerary together. That's fine as well. We don't have time slots. So you're not restricted to the time slots as well. So you can come at any time. The only place I would recommend booking, though, would be for the distillery, because the tours do fill up very quickly in the distillery. And for the regular tour itself, to do the tour and then taste 3 whiskies, followed by the ice cream, they start at 12 noon and they go on to 3 p.m. each day, and they're an hour. And then for the food pairing tour, it's at 3:30 p.m. every single day. So I would definitely recommend to book for those tours.
Definitely. And for people who want more information, maybe looking to book into the hotel, is the hotel bookable from the main Powerscourt site? And
It's
where can
not.
people? Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm very, very pleased to announce if to keep in touch with us and see what's happening in the gardens. We have just launched our new garden tour app that is free to download from either the Google or the Apple stores. You don't need to be here at the gardens. You can download it from your hotel room, or you can download it from your car or from your home there in the United States. And it's just called Powerscourt Estate. So you can download the app, and there you'll find our different tours. You'll find the history of the estate and an interactive map, and also our information on our sustainability program. For our website ourselves, for the House and Gardens website, our website is www.powerscourt.com, or you can follow us on Instagram at Powerscourt_estate, or on Facebook at Powerscourt Estate. For the hotel, then it's powerscourthotelandspa.com, and for Powerscourt Golf, it is powerscourtgolf.com.
Great.
And then for the distillery, it's powerscourtdistillery.com.
So basically, if you search Powerscourt Ireland, you're probably going to get everything on your search engine.
Yes.
But just with the side note that there is a Powerscourt, what is it? The Powerscourt in Dublin, the house, Powerscourt
That's
Centre, right?
That's the Powerscourt Townhouse Centre, which was the original townhouse for the Wingfield Powerscourt family. So Powerscourt here in Enniskerry was actually their summer residence, and their winter residence was in the centre of Dublin City. So if you come across Powerscourt Townhouse, that's not us. So
but anything else should be.
Golf or hotel. Yes.
Beautiful. So we kind of teased this a few minutes ago, and this is the way I always wrap up with my guests. Are the 3 things that you think people should be sure to visit when they are in your area? And obviously we're in County Wicklow. So let's hear your top 3 things that people shouldn't miss in County Wicklow.
Well, we're very, very fortunate here in Wicklow because we have a large selection of different things and different attractions for people to see and different things to experience. So trying to whittle down to 3 was difficult.
Sorry about that.
Of course, Powerscourt is number 1. But the ones that I think that people will get so much, because there's a nice variety between them all. The first one would be Glendalough. And Glendalough is situated in the Glacial Valley, just about 35 minutes from us. And it's a wonderful monastic site that dates back to the 6th century. And it's where St. Kevin had founded the monastery. And when you go to there, it's set on this beautiful lake, and you can see that it was an old glacier there. And they have this round tower called St. Kevin's Tower that actually dates back to the 9th century. So it is a wonderful place to go and visit. The tranquility and the peacefulness of it is very good. And it's only 35 minutes from us. There's another place that is a bit more adventurous, and it's called Beyond the Trees and Avondale House in Rathdrum, which is about, again, 35 minutes, 40 minutes from us. And in Beyond the Trees there, you walk on an elevated walk that takes you right through the treetops of the forest, and it makes its way over the Avonmore Valley, where you reach the viewing tower. And this tower is about 150 feet high. And again, you have stunning views right across the whole of the Avonmore Valley. When you're coming into Rathdrum, you can actually see the top of the tower peeking through the trees. They've also got Avondale House there as well. Now, it was the home of a very famous Irishman called Charles Stewart Parnell. And Parnell was a nationalist politician who served as a member of parliament in the United Kingdom in the 19th century. But what he was very famous for was he was the leader and the founder of the Human League of Ireland, which was seeking independence from the United Kingdom. So he started with his colleagues there the whole process of our gaining independence. And we've also got another beautiful area. This is in West Wicklow, which is about 50 minutes from us, 55 minutes. It's a place called Rusborough House. And Rusborough House was built in the mid-1700s, and it was built to display the great artwork assembled by the first Earl of Milltown. And it's an incredibly classical design of architecture that makes it one of the most beautiful Georgian houses in Ireland. There are early tours of the house where you get to see some magnificent artwork and also to learn about the history of the house. But also on site as well, they have other things that you can do. You can go to the National Bird of Prey Centre, which is a fascinating place to see, or they can try out their maze. Now, I had to look at the maze. I thought, with my sense of direction, might not be a good thing. But it is a wonderful day trip then as well to go to the other side of Wicklow.
Is that a hedge maze or is it?
Yes.
Yes, a hedge maze. Okay.
A hedge maze, yes. So come closing time, they get up on a viewing platform
Make sure
and they guide people
lost.
who are still trying to get around out. So that would be me. But it's a nice variety that we have here in Wicklow. And there's so many other places to view and to see in Wicklow as well. But they would be my top three.
So the real question, Vivienne, comes down to, have you done the slide at Avondale?
My excuse was it was too wet.
That 9-story slide on the viewing platform has got to be one of the funnest things I think I've done in Wicklow.
And it is lovely because as you're going up around, there's a circular tower that you walk around to get up to the top of it. There's different points that they point out for you because sometimes they can be queues there. So just to keep the children amused as well, there's different areas that you can look out onto to see. And then once you get to the top, you're down in 4 seconds, 5 seconds?
Yeah, it's great fun. It's great fun.
Yeah, but if there's any sort of moisture.
Yeah, any sort of moisture, and it's not a Swex for sure. But another thing I think to mention about Wicklow, and you alluded to it when we were talking about the gardens at Powerscourt, is that you have loads of walking trails. And at Avondale, there's, Avondale Forest, loads of walking trails that are free to use.
Yes.
At Glendalough, the hikes through the mountains and around the lakes, wide open, free to access. And then throughout the Wicklow Mountains, you have these beautiful, scenic, stunning walks. It's just, if you like to be outside and you like to walk, there's really, Wicklow is just ideal.
Well, also there is the Wicklow Way walk. It starts actually in Dublin. It takes you through the mountains of Wicklow, and it is a spectacular walk. It really is that you can get, and you actually come through Enniskerry as well, where we're located, and it brings you right up to Lough Dan. It brings you up to the Guinness Lake, and you're looking down, you go, gosh, is this Ireland? It is just magnificent, and also as well, so many people comment on how green it is and how lush, because a lot of time walks, you see an awful lot of areas, patchy areas, but there's nothing like that at all. And you're going through farms and, see all the different animals. It's a magnificent walk.
Yeah, it's a beautiful county. And obviously Powerscourt is probably the crown in the county.
The jewel in the crown.
Jewel in the county's crown. Yes, thank you. So I really appreciate you joining me today, talking about all the opportunities right there in Powerscourt and a little bit more in Wicklow. Thank you so, so much for your time.
It has been my pleasure, and thank you so much. It's been lovely talking with you as well, Jodie. And we look forward to welcoming you all to Powerscourt very soon.
I absolutely love the Powerscourt Estate. And I'll be honest, it is a rare visit to Ireland that I don't stop there for something, whether it's to stay at the hotel, to visit the distillery, or to wander through the gardens. It really is a spectacular day out. So I hope that you were able to take some inspiration and ideas away from this podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I would really appreciate it if you would leave a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you can't leave a review on your podcast app, You can visit the Ireland Family Vacations Facebook page and leave a review there, or visit Trustpilot at irelandfamilyvacations.com/trust. If you have questions or comments, you can email me, Jody, Jody, at irelandfamilyvacations.com. As always, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, slán go fóill.